All right, folks, we are live again with a topic nobody has ever heard of before, has never talked about it, has never studied it, and that is AI, artificial intelligence. Oh my God, it's going to kill me. It's going to kill my children. No, it's not. The anti-AI cult is out of control. Let's see if we can trigger some people today. Probably already have. Let's just get everything rolling. Just got to make sure everything is good here. I'm always dropping so many has ever heard off the beginning before, has never talked. There we go. Cool. I think that's cool. Dropping a lot of frames to begin with today. That's interesting. Very interesting, sire. Oh, actually, that looks way better. Okay. Let's do our shares, shall we? Boom. I said a boom, chicka boom. Hit that like, please. Okay, Robin, I will. Hit that like button. So, Travis, you're saying AI is a better thinker than me? Yeah. Okay. Join the live discussion here. Okay.
So did they teach y'all "Oh Susanna" in California? I mean, in Canada too.
It's a song I know. I think from my grandparents, but yeah, I don't know for sure where I picked it up. Let's get our beautiful people on X in the room as well. Boom. Like here's an excellent test. If you saw this title of today's show and it caused you to want to run away or leave Pangburn forever, or you just might be in the cult. Maybe. Just maybe. Post. Dang it. What about the pro AI cult? First of all, that's not the topic today. And second of all, I'm not sure there is a pro AI cult in the same way. I mean, the people who actually have learned to use these tools and master them and work hard on weeding out bugs, the ones I know understand that AI is not a big fat free lunch. All right. Hopefully we can get some anti-AI cult members in today. That would be awesome. Who else we got? Who hates artificial intelligence? All right, just getting started here. What up, everyone? As always, I'm going to start by reading some information. Let's start with the common anti AI cult myths. First myth: AI produces nothing genuinely new. AI recombines learned patterns, but so do humans. Novelty does not require creation from nothing. AI can generate outputs that did not exist in its training data, including new code, designs, hypotheses, images, and linguistic combinations, just like humans do. All AI output is plagiarism. Plagiarism means presenting identifiable work or ideas as one's own without attribution. AI output can be plagiaristic, but it is not automatically plagiarism. Training on material is not identical to copying a specific passage, just as learning from books is not identical to reproducing them. So you have to be careful that you don't shoot yourself in the foot when you say all AI output is plagiarism. What does that tell you about, the human condition of learning by way of reading books and then generating your own material? Using AI means you have no talent. Tools do not erase agency. Cameras did not eliminate photographers, synthesizers did not eliminate musicians, and calculators did not eliminate mathematicians. Skill often moves from manual execution toward judgment, direction, selection, verification, and refinement. Anything made with AI is fake. AI involvement does not make an output false. A photograph edited with AI can still depict a real event. An AI assisted essay can contain correct arguments. Truth depends on correspondence with reality, not on whether a machine participated. AI users are lazy. Some people do use AI lazily. Others use it to complete more ambitious work, overcome disabilities, communicate across languages, test ideas, learn faster, or automate repetitive tasks. Tool use only reveals little about effort. So, yeah, I mean, like for me, with regards to this point, I will use AI tools and AI teammates to help give me the power of an entire staff in any kind of field I really want. It can be graphic design, it can be other things, and that allows me to compete as a live event producer, as one example, with other much larger companies. AI is just autocomplete. Modern generative AI does predict tokens, but prediction does not imply triviality. The systems can perform abstraction, translation, coding, classification, uh, analogical reasoning, and multi step problem solving, though this can be inconsistent. AI does not understand anything. This depends entirely on the definition of understanding. AI probably does not understand through human consciousness or lived experience, but if functional understanding means representing relationships, applying concepts, and generalizing to new cases, some systems clearly demonstrate limited forms of understanding. AI is either conscious or completely worthless. Consciousness and usefulness are separate questions. Calculators, search engines, and microscopes are not conscious, yet they are valuable. AI does not need feelings to improve diagnoses, translation, accessibility, or productivity. AI will inevitably eliminate every job. AI will replace some tasks and perhaps some occupations, but technologies usually produce a mixture of substitution, augmentation, and new work. The important questions concern which workers are displaced, how quickly, and whether institutions distribute the gains fairly. AI never makes people more creative. AI can certainly encourage uh, generic output, but it can also increase the number of ideas explored, provide unexpected variations, lower technical barriers, and help people realize concepts they could not execute alone. Creativity depends heavily on how the tool is used. AI art has no emotional value. Emotional value occurs in the audience. A person can be moved by a sunset, an instrumental recording, or anonymous poem, or a computer generated image. The absence of machine emotion does not prevent human emotional response. AI generated work is automatically inferior. Blind evaluations often reveal that people cannot reliably distinguish AI assisted work from human work. When ratings fall only after an AI label is added, the judgment is partly about identity and stigma rather than observable quality. So we went through this with regards to professional musicians versus, um, you know, the average non-professional music listener and their ability to determine what music is AI generated and what isn't. Obviously, the non-experts scored a bit lower, but it wasn't that big of a gap between the experts and the general audience. And in general, humans are already very bad at getting this correct and distinguishing well between AI generated music and not AI generated music, just as one example. AI companies secretly control, or sorry, I forgot to put on my nasty tone. AI companies secretly control every answer. Models are shaped by training choices, corporate policies, and institutional incentives, but that does not mean every response is centrally scripted. Outputs emerge from learned statistical structures and user prompts within imposed constraints. AI hallucinations prove AI has no value. Human beings also misremember, um, confabulate, and confidently state falsehoods. AI hallucinations are a serious limitation, especially in medicine, law, and research, but fallibility does not imply uselessness. It implies verification requirements. Yeah, do you know what hallucinates at a much more rapid, crazy rate um, than AI does? Human beings. Humans are or humans are reliable. AI is uniquely dangerous. Humans produce misinformation, discrimination, fraud, propaganda, and catastrophic errors without AI. The relevant comparison is not AI versus perfect humanity, it is AI assisted systems versus existing human institutions. AI always makes society less equal. AI may concentrate power and damage vulnerable workers, but it can also provide tutoring, translation, legal information, coding assistance, and professional level tools to people who previously could not afford them. Its distributional effect is not predetermined. Every use of copyrighted training data is theft. Copyright law is more complicated than the moral language of theft. Important disputes remain about licensing, fair use, memorization, market substitution, and compensation. Treating every instance of machine learning as literal theft assumes the legal and philosophical conclusion instead of arguing for it. AI is destroying the environment more than it helps. AI systems consume substantial energy and water, but the net impact depends on the energy source, efficiency improvements, and whether AI reduces energy use elsewhere through better logistics, materials, forecasting, and grid optimization. The correct response is measurement and clearer infrastructure, not unsupported absolutes. So yeah, it is true that the energy consumption of AI systems is big, and it's going to be one of the biggest consumption layers, outputted by humanity. But you can't just look at that in a vacuum. You have to think about the energy savings and the other things, and why it's important to spend energy on AI development. Disclosure is always morally required. Disclosure is clearly important when AI use affects authenticity, consent, safety, assessment, or public trust, but demanding disclosure for every grammar correction, translation, brainstorming session, or background removal can become a purity ritual rather than meaningful transparency. Yeah, that's where a lot of the culty shit starts working its way in. Um, Anyone optimistic about AI is a corporate shill. This dismisses arguments by attacking the speaker's presumed motives. A person can acknowledge corporate misconduct, labor disruption, and technical dangers while still concluding that AI has major positive potential. And this outlines me just to a T right there. I understand the issues. Why AI needs great levels of legislation. Um, all of this, by the way, that I've read here, just copy it and graft it onto the internet. This is all the same crap that the anti-internet lobby and eventually anti-internet cult started talking about. Because the internet was taking over the world, man. It's going to destroy relationships. I don't think that happened. The underlying cult pattern here, the mythology usually relies on five moves. Essentialism: AI is inherently corrupt regardless of the specific use. Contamination: any human work touched by AI becomes illegitimate in my eyes. Purity testing: moral worth depends on refusing the technology. Catastrophizing: every development is interpreted as evidence of inevitable ruin. Evidence asymmetry: AI failures are treated as decisive, while AI successes are dismissed or redefined as fraudulent. So this is like, counting the hits and not the misses, or counting the misses and not the hits. Bias. So people who study AI, I always like to look at what the experts have to say in every field, the general consensus. So Pew Research Center surveyed 5,410 American adults and 1,013 people who were identified and used for this polling at AI conferences, who were considered to be AI experts. So 1,013 AI experts and 5,410 American adults. The experts were not a perfect representative sample, and their responses were unweighted, but the differences are too large to dismiss as statistical noise here. So, and something to look at is the predicted positive effect. We're going to look at predicted positive effect, AI experts. What the AI experts have to say, what the US public has to say, and what that expert to public ratio looks like. So United States overall, when it comes to predicted positive overall effect, the experts are 56% on the um, predicted positive effect for the United States overall. AI, 56% of AI experts agree that there will be a positive effect. 17% of the US public believe that AI is going to have an overall positive effect in the United States. So the expert public ratio gap there, is almost 4 times, right? That's a massive disconnect between what the experts are predicting and believe and what the U.S. public believes. How about positive effect in the United States on how people do their jobs? AI experts say are 73% in favor of predicting positive effects. The U.S. public 23%. So this is closer to a 3.2 x gap between AI expert opinion and U.S. public opinion. The economy, predicted positive effects on the U.S. economy. AI experts are 69% in favor of the predicted positive effect, 21% for the U.S. public. That's 3.3x separation regarding the expert to public ratio. And then finally, medical care. And this one's looking better, I have to say. So when it comes to predictive positive effects of medical care in the United States, AI experts are saying 84% of AI experts are saying that there will be positive effect. 44% of the U.S. public believes in positive effects for the U.S. That's a 1.9x separation there. So across these 4 domains, experts were approximately 2.85 times as likely as the public to expect a positive outcome using the geometric mean of the 4 ratios. Meanwhile, 51% of the public reported being more concerned than excited about AI, compared with only 15% of experts. Only 11% of the public was more excited than concerned, compared with 47% of experts. This does not prove that experts are always correct, of course. Experts may have professional interests, optimism bias, or greater personal liability to benefit from AI, but it does establish a severe calibration problem. The people with the most relevant technical knowledge are dramatically less pessimistic than the population receiving most of its information through headlines, entertainment, and social media. The difference is especially extreme regarding work. Nearly 2/3 of Americans, 64%, expect AI to produce fewer jobs over the next 20 years, while only 5% expect more jobs. That is a pessimism ratio of 12.8 to 1. Experts are also concerned, but their distribution is far less apocalyptic. 39% expect fewer jobs, and 19% expect more. So yeah, I wanted to read out what I would consider to be like cult-like myths about AI to begin with, and then then we can open up the conversation. I was waiting for the first whataboutism. This one's dropped by William. William says, true, but so is the pro AI cult. So first of all, that's a whataboutism. We're not talking about the pro AI cult, if there even is one. We're talking about the anti-AI cult today. It says so in the title, in the thumbnail. And one thing quickly on that, since you brought it up, I don't know anyone who's part of the pro AI cult. I use AI a lot. I use AI teammates daily. I work with people daily that use AI systems, that have become experts in using AI systems. And it's hard for me to find more pro AI people than like myself and people I work with, but we aren't like deaf on the obvious, issues that come with the AI, like unregulated AI, for example. we need more regulation for AI. We need to protect against the obvious dangers to physical, mental, and social health and well-being of humanity with regards to AI. And there are some obvious things. The energy issue is an issue that matters. Um, finding more efficient ways to run AI systems is really important. Um, you know, something I do find interesting. I've talked to some people who are like who have never in their entire lives ever talked to me about anything relating to um, like global warming or climate change or anything like that. And they will even say like, what about AI's effect on climate change? And then I'll be like, well, where were you when, you know, back in the day when electric vehicles were coming in to like, take a big bite out of fossil fuel burning, and you never said boo about that ever. So I'm not sure if for some people AI has just been another like ghost story to tell to kind of get away with some kind of political rhetoric. But yeah, I mean, we'll go through everyone's issues they want to bring up today, and we'll see how far, wide, and deep they really are according to the actual factual data. And let me just check in with YouTube really quickly. Yeah, if anyone wants to hop in to the VC with us here, we're just chilling on Discord. There's our Discord link. Yeah, farce. Why don't you stack up some of these issues? Well, actually, we could go. Barry said internet did change how people socialize for sure. There's good and bad. Yep. But I'd take my childhood without the internet versus my kids. Yeah, that's fair. You have a preference there. Yeah, and that's different. That you have this preference as opposed to like this idea that like the internet, you know, destroyed society in some way, or the internet robbed something from humanity. And then when people ask like, well, what exactly was robbed from humanity, they can't put their finger on it, or they haven't funded a study to demonstrate this, or you know there's some interesting work with regards to social media and some of the shortcomings. But when I read these studies, it's often like it just always boils down to me it's being like using these tools incorrectly. Like when people like bring up like the this is a problem with AI, and it's like, yeah, I mean, there are going to be problems with this like new age tool that's in its infancy still. And yeah, if the fact that the head of the hammer can fly off when you're swinging it to hit a nail and actually kill someone, yeah, that's a problem that needs to be regulated against. It needs to, the manufacturers of hammers need to be held responsible as well to be manufacturing safe hammers. That's why, the laws are set up the way they are with regards to manufacturing construction tools. So yeah, but we can go through some of the stuff. Farce. What do you mean by water issues?
Hello there.
Hey.
I don't know if you've noticed, like on CNN, where Ocasio Cortez has been running the belt, kind of getting her name out there. But one thing that was brought to her attention was some of the AI data centers and their prolific use of water and deregulation around sound issues, and for some reason needing to have their buildings lit brighter than the sun 24 hours a day. People have noticed that their groundwater has become polluted because of either construction or something having to do with how data centers dispose
Okay.
of their wastewater.
Yeah, let's go through the water issue.
I would imagine if you just like do Ocasio-Cortez and
I'm not going to
like
go by what Ocasio-Cortez says. I'm
oh
I'm
no,
going to
she
go by
brought
the expert
samples
consensus.
to Congress to show regulators.
Yeah, that's irrelevant though. Like I want the data.
Oh,
Like if that's I'm not going to take her word for anything. I'm going to see what's been studied and collected and like done in an expert scientific way, not what a politician is bringing as a demonstration. So
no.
let's see. AI data centers are guzzling catastrophic amounts of water is the general claim. This claim contains a real environmental concern, but is often presented in a scientifically misleading way. Data centers consume water directly through evaporative cooling and indirectly through electricity generation and semiconductor manufacturing. One government review estimates that the entire global data center sector currently consumes more than 560 billion liters annually and could approach 1.2 trillion liters by 2030. A single large hyperscale facility can consume billions of liters per year, so poorly located facilities can place genuine pressure on local water supplies. But there's five distinctions, but five distinctions are routinely erased. Data centers does not mean uh, uh, generative AI. So published totals normally include cloud storage, streaming, banking, social media, enterprise software, websites, video calls, conventional computing, and AI. Attributing the entire sector's footprint to ChatGPT or image generators is false accounting. So apparently, there is a myth out there that this is um, entirely due to large language models and image generators, etc. And that's not true. Withdrawal is not the same as consumption. So water withdrawal means water taken from a source, some of which may later be returned. Water consumption means water that is evaporated, incorporated into products, or otherwise not immediately returned to the local watershed. Headlines frequently quote the larger withdrawal figure while describing it as water used up. So we got to be careful to I'm gonna put this one here because I'll put it in the chat as well because politicians will also be using this kind of language. Oh, it's too big for the chat. Oh, you guys can see it on the screen on Discord. So the widely circulated projection that AI could account for 4.2 to 6.6 billion cubic meters in 2027 is explicitly a withdrawal estimate, not a measurement of water permanently consumed. It is also model based rather than a direct census of all AI facilities. There is no universal, quote, water per AI query. So Berkeley lab researchers found that workload level water consumption can vary by more than 10,000 fold depending on the server, model efficiency, utilization, electrical grid, cooling system, climate, and location. Therefore, claims such as every AI prompt consumes a bottle of water cannot be treated as universal physical constraints. For comparison, Google, sorry?
Oh no, please go ahead. I've never heard the myth of how much water gets drank out of every AI query. That
Sure.
was a new one for me.
Yeah. These are just pulling from some of the things that are said. I'll give the sources after I'm done reading. For comparison, Google's production measurement estimated that the median Gemini text prompt consumed approximately 0.26 milliliters of water, about 5 drops. That's equivalent to. So a median Gemini text prompt produces about 5 drops of water. That figure applies to Google's particular infrastructure and should not be generalized to every model, but it demonstrates how misleading fixed per prompt claims can be. Water cooling is not necessarily environmentally worse. Evaporative water cooling can require less electricity than conventional chillers or air conditioning. Eliminating direct water use may therefore increase electricity demand and, depending on the electrical grid, increase emissions or indirect water consumption at power plants. The environmentally optimal system depends on local climate, water scarcity, and energy generation, not on achieving a cosmetically attractive zero beside one isolated metric. The problem is intensely local. 1 billion liters consumed in a water-rich region using treated water wastewater is not environmentally equivalent to the same amount drawn from potable supplies during a drought. Google reports that 87% of its 2025 freshwater withdrawals came from sources classified as having low or medium depletion or scarcity risk, but the remaining share and other companies' facilities still require local scrutiny. The strongest criticism is therefore about where water is taken, what kind of water is used, how much is consumed rather than returned, and whether local residents bear the cost. What the evidence actually supports here with regards to the water issue. AI infrastructure has a significant and growing water footprint. Some facilities should not be approved in water-stressed areas without strict conditions. Operations should report direct and indirect water use, prioritize reclaimed or non-potable water, recycle cooling water, and use hybrid or zero evaporation systems where environmentally appropriate. Closed loop, direct to chip, and immersion cooling technologies can substantially reduce freshwater demand, while careful geographical and temporal scheduling can move computation toward less water intensive locations and electricity sources. The myth is not that data centers use water. They, of course, do. The myth is that every AI interaction consumes an enormous fixed quantity of drinking water, that all reported data center water belongs to AI, and that the global aggregate alone proves AI is exhausting humanity's water supply. So the final verdict: AI's water footprint is a serious infrastructure management problem, not evidence that using AI is inherently environmentally immoral. Measure the specific facility, watershed, cooling technology, and energy source rather than moralizing the category. So that's from the Pangburn AI system, by the way. And the sources, we have a lot here. I'm actually going to get this to an easy to copy source list. Oh, why did that do that? Oh, it's because I have it set to high right now. It's gonna take time, but consuming all kinds of water. So this comes from water use in AI and data centers is one of the main sources here. This is produced by Kenny Rich. It's on the UK government website. We're going to have Lei Nuo, Jun Lu, Arman Shehebi, and Eric Massonet. The study is The Water Use of Data Center Workloads, a Review and Assessment of Key Determinants. And this, the paper will be attached here. Here's the 7 main sources used for this information. So on YouTube, you guys should be able to see that as well. Okay, and then the other one. Well, first, what do you think of all that farce? Does that all make sense?
So yes, it does. A lot of that was stuff that I have definitely not heard before. The kind of the angle that I was initially attacking was the fact that, number one, the Meta AI Center wasn't there and things were fine, and then a large building gets built, and then lights get turned on, and then things start happening, and then all of a sudden, you know, neighbor's water is now dirty and disgusting, and they
And this
have
is
to
what
go
AOC
to
was talking
bottled
about.
water.
Is that what AOC was talking about?
That was part of the gist, yes, that these people didn't have to worry about, not being able to take showers or drinking water because they had good water, and then a large data center goes up not a mile from their house, and all of a sudden every time they want to take a shower or try to use water for any means, they cannot use what comes out of their sink anymore because it is filthy and undrinkable now.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I'll check to
that,
see
that
what.
was the I was attacking, not
Yep.
not just.
Yeah, I think it's good to go through the meta layer, the looking at the issue of water in general first. But now I'm pulling up the actual case you're talking about.
But absolutely, thanks for reading that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's good for me too. Like I want to be further educated on this stuff as well. So um, the thing is that, like, AI systems can be used in very stupid and dangerous ways. I've spent a year and a half perfecting the Pangburn AI system within ChatGPT, using their most powerful multi-agent models to do this. And I'm hoping that eventually one day regulations are going to start pushing the onus in a direction that you remove some of the heavy sycophantry that can be performed by AI systems, not to cut off the balls of its ability to be conscientious and sympathetic, not doing that, because I think, like, from a therapeutic perspective, and not like where you actually need clinical help, but like the that therapeutic element, the fact that you can always find a system to have a good faith helpful conversation with, is a very good thing. But you don't want a system sycophantic in a way that's going to lead to misinformation or danger, or things like that. um, so yeah, but as it stands right now, you have to do a lot of your own programming to get these systems to where I would consider them to be um, you know extremely useful and beneficial, uh and just for the kind of work I do, um just a night and day. It changed the world more, like, feels like a greater change than when the internet came out. And part of it is because, like, I run a production business, and I've been able to cut costs in a in a crazy amount of different ways, and it just allows me to be able to put more. It allows me, at the end of the day, to actualize my moral quest more efficiently because of the savings of resources. It's also, just to add another thing, when you get this tool working right, it's a kind of educational tool that is like nothing I've ever used before. Like, I used to, I would use, like, Wikipedia to get, like, a general sense. And luckily, once Wikipedia became highly developed, you could find all of the sourcing and follow the source information in Wikipedia, and the actual studies in reference, where the information's coming from. So I used to have to do all that. Now my system can do this process, and much better than I ever could. damn near instantly. So, and deliver it in a helpful way. But I'm just putting that out there because just so people understand like where the information's coming from, and I can post the sources as well. But yeah, not once has anyone ever been able to give me something to give to my system that almost certainly will create some kind of hallucination. You know, as I was building the system, I was using Grok, Gemini, some different systems to be checking for hallucinations in my system. But the way I have this built, it's it's pretty skookum. It's like having the the world's like greatest fact finding engine that can be customized to deliver information in the way that you want. And I mean, it's hard to find something better than that for me in the way I like to learn than something like this. So anyways, the water problem was real, but Meta's responsibility for the residents' dirty well water was not, or has not been scientifically established. So on May 20th, 2026, AOC displayed jars of brown water during a House Energy and Commerce subcommittee hearing. She said residents near Meta's Stanton Springs data center campus in Georgia had experienced discolored water, reduced pressure, and damaged appliances following construction. She characterized the data center as the only meaningful change preceding the problems. So what has been established? Meta's Stanton Springs facility places a substantial demand on the municipal water system. Public reporting based on the local water authorities figures says it accounts for roughly 10% of Newton County's daily water use. County planning documents also identify the possibility of a future water supply deficit as industrial and residential demand grows. That is a legitimate water capacity concern, although Meta is not the only source of projected demand. Residents using nearby private wells have genuinely reported brown or sediment-filled water, low water pressure, failing plumbing and appliances, purchasing or transporting water for household use. The Morgan County Public Health Department confirmed receiving questions about low pressure and visibly dirty water. What has not been established yet? There's currently no publicly reported independent testing or government finding demonstrating that Meta's construction or water consumption caused the brown well water. After AOC's hearing, the EPA contacted Georgia's regulators, the county health department, and the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. The EPA specifically clarified that this was preliminary information gathering, not a formal federal investigation. The health department had not received water samples tied to the complaints, and the University Extension Office had not observed an increase in related well testing requests. Meta denies causing the well problems. It says its operating and construction water comes from the local public utility, not private groundwater wells. An engineering consultant concluded that the campus was unlikely to have affected the relevant well. The property was in a different watershed, approximately 1.3 miles from parts of the campus. Blasting occurred more than a mile from the reported well. The study was commissioned by Meta, so it should not be treated as equivalent to an independent regulatory determination, but it is relevant counter evidence. So the claim residents experience serious water problems, supported. Meta's facility consumes substantial public water, supported. The facility increases pressure on future water capacity, reasonably supported. Meta construction caused the brown private well water. This is unproven. Meta chemically contaminated the county's public water supply, not established. AOC demonstrated causation by displaying the jars. No, she demonstrated a complaint and temporal correlation. AOC was justified in demanding proper testing and oversight. However, her statement that the only difference was the data center is a post hoc causal inference, not a scientific demonstration. The accurate formulation is residents develop serious well water problems following construction near Meta's campus, while the campus consumes a significant share of the local public water supply. Whether Meta caused the well degradation remains unresolved. So this will be an interesting story to follow, and I think we should keep up with it because we're going to be having lots of conversations on AI and development and hurdles and potential issues. But yeah, Farce, any thoughts on that?
Just a small rebuttal. When AOC went to this person's house, CNN followed them because, of course, CNN will stick their nose in wherever they can. They actually filled the jar from the kitchen sink right there in the presence of a camera, and the water was dirty. So, I mean, is it water that I would shower or drink or eat from? No, absolutely not.
Oh yeah, I don't think anyone's denying that there's a legitimate water issue. But putting the blame on Meta and the AI center is the leap that hasn't been demonstrated. Does that make sense?
I can't agree. I can't agree with that. But part of me thinks that if there was no problem and then a large building gets built and then there is a problem, I can't.
So that's a correlation, right? So it creates a hypothesis. We shouldn't believe the hypothesis.
That's all I wanted. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, we shouldn't believe the hypothesis to be true. I think the proper thing is to investigate it. Sounds like it's being investigated. It sounds like there's good reason to believe from Meta's perspective that, they aren't the cause of this issue. There's many different issues as to what could be causing this plumbing or the issue in the well water. But yeah, maybe they will find that the center is to blame for this. I'm sure they're going to investigate it. I'm sure if they are to blame for it, I'm sure they're going to be picking up, the bill.
If I could have you put on your pretend lawyer hat for a minute, and Meta was your client, would you advise them to go out and say, well, yep, we built the building and your water's dirty. It could be our fault. I hardly doubt, as your client, you would advise them to willingly put themselves into a possible class action lawsuit. So
no, yeah, what I would do,
I would think that they would absolutely say no until there is 110% irrefutable proof that yes, you did it, because that's a lot of money coming out of your pocket if you just, we did a thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Meta commissioned a study, right? So I think they did the right thing. Their position was denying causing the problems. Those key points I read out.
Of course.
The distance away from where they're operating. They're not on the same water system as private groundwater wells, etc. So yeah, I mean, I would just present and I would advise Meta to do their own study to investigate before they say anything and say, well, we want to make sure that we're not causing this issue. And then I would, I would advise them to, once we have a rigorous study that we would be willing to defend in court, then I would say that our public messaging should be based on that study. And I think that's what they did. Yeah.
I would just hope as a corporate, steward of land and whatnot, and, as a neighbor, I would think that for the millions of dollars that they've spent on this project, that, 0.0001% could be used, in a means of, getting out in front of stories like this. But then, I mean, this is, me telling someone else how to run their business. And I would just hope that they would be a good partner of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of an anti-litigious, I just, I've dealt with lawyers and whatnot, and they've told me secrets as in, here's how we do our thing in order to, create the least bit of legal burden possible. And, I can see it from both sides. And I'm inserting how I believe people should be treated. So I'm going to stop talking now.
Yeah, I mean, the concern of, water running dirty in your home is legitimate concern. I mean, I remember growing up where this happened in my parents' house a few times, and yeah, you got to investigate. You got to figure out what's going on, and why that's happening. So I tried to find like the samples of the water came from Beverly Morris, the resident whose home uses a private well. CNN appears to have circulated the congressional exchange. There's footage and testimony that Morris's tap water runs brown and contains sediment. But I mean, my system couldn't find any report that CNN itself ran water from the sink. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily relevant to the issue, but it's just further demonstration that I think everyone already accepts. Like, I don't think Meta's denying that these people are having water issues. It's kind of a dispute on the cause, it looks like. Yeah, so I'll also check the YouTube chat to see if we have any other issues. So the other thing was sound pollution issues, right?
This is from months and months and months ago. I'm pretty sure that AI data center technology is probably improved and whatnot, but I've seen other like stories and articles of people that have these centers in their backyard, and the light pollution, the sound pollution, walls are created in order to try and buffer away some of that sound, but still, I mean, it's just they can't sleep with their windows open anymore and stuff like that. Would I want to be within a mile of a data center? Probably not. I would move, but for a lot of people in farmlands, having to sell your farm, when it's been in the family for how many generations, that's probably a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, it would be. So I think what ultimately is going to matter at the end of the day is what are the laws with regards to sound. When you get more rural, those laws tend to be much looser than when you're in urban environments. So I'm just checking to see what data is available there for this. Yeah, what up everyone on YouTube? If you want to jump in, there's the Discord link. Let's see. Someone says we don't need all these data centers. LLM scaling will not achieve AGI. These massive data centers are really intended to enable total surveillance of the public. Can you demonstrate that? Total surveillance will enable the global fund. Yeah, this is a conspiracy theory. This is what the AI cult looks like. Will enable the global financial elite along with big tech to implement the control grid, which will be supernatural totalitarian control. I hope you're trolling, because this is like the direct example of what I've the reason why we're doing a stream on the anti-AI cult and why it's out of control.
No, don't eat that. Sorry, my cat.
Another issue worth bringing up is intellectual property theft. We talked a little bit about that earlier. So we talked about plagiarism and how, well, let's go back to it. So this was like the common anti-AI cult myths. So I'm not saying you're saying this, but the myth is that all AI output is plagiarism. Plagiarism means presenting identifiable work or ideas as one's own without attribution. AI output can be plagiaristic, but it is not automatically plagiarism. Training on material is not identical to copying a specific passage, just as learning from books is not identical to reproducing them. So if Carl Sagan has read something from Bertrand Russell and is talking about what Bertrand Russell wrote and is also summarizing closely to the way Bertrand Russell summarizes, that's not plagiarism. So, but I am curious. Yeah, I'm not saying you're necessarily anti-AI, lost in space time, but I'm miss this. Me sometimes. Sorry, unable to participate. Oh, wish you could speak, Kelly. I'm not saying that you're necessarily anti-AI cult, but that is the kind of language coming from the anti-AI cult. So I think you would be well welcomed within that cult, talking about this conspiracy theory you have. You say you can't expect profit-driven corporations to behave responsibly towards the community. It happens all the time. What are you talking about? I run a profit-driven corporation. That's what Pangburn is. I mean, profit is a part of what keeps us able to continue to do work. They must be forced or coerced into acting responsibly. Well, I mean, yeah, there are laws, like ways you have to engage in business or else you're going to get in shit, right? Robert, Skeptic Philosophy, says, before we know what anti-AI cult looks like, do we know what an AI cult looks like? Yeah, we heard something like this earlier. We're not talking about what a pro AI cult would look like. So that's just like whataboutism. You don't need to know that before we can talk about anti-AI cult. So yeah, that's a weird thing to bring up. Envra says, I've heard a decent amount about worries of galvanic corrosion affecting water purity and not enough testings before and after to ensure that they aren't dumping like other companies typically do. Yeah, I mean, we can take a look at that. When
that
you
would
say
be the
a
dump
decent
of chemicals into the water. I don't see how that would be a thing for cooling.
Yeah.
Computers.
Yeah, I don't.
That's
yeah, I don't know either.
Separate from that. Yeah.
We can still look into that though. Thanks for the comment. So let me take a look at so noise is one of the more legitimate local objections to AI data centers, although it varies enormously by facility design and is often confused with noise from associated power generation. What creates the sound? The computers themselves are usually enclosed inside the building. Most neighborhood noise comes from cooling towers, chillers, pumps, and large ventilation fans operating continuously, transformers, and substations producing a steady electrical hum, diesel generators during tests or outages, on-site gas turbines where the grid cannot supply enough electricity, construction, truck traffic, and utility work. AI facilities can intensify the issue because modern AI racks concentrate enormous amounts of electricity and heat. The IEA estimates that by 2027, one advanced rack could draw power comparable to 65 households and require the removal of heat comparable to roughly 30 gas boilers. That does not automatically make every AI facility loud, but it demands considerably more cooling or liquid heat removal infrastructure. What does it sound like? Ordinary cooling equipment commonly produces a continuous tonal or low frequency hum. Even when the measured decibel level is moderate, an unchanging mechanical tone can be conspicuous at night when background noise falls. Low frequency sound may also travel through walls and be experienced as vibration or pressure rather than conventional loudness. Official industrial noise guidance treats tonality, intermittency, low background noise, and low frequency sound as important factors beyond a simple average decibel reading. It specifically warns that conventional industrial noise assessment may be inadequate by itself for low frequency noise. Other documented examples: in Loudoun County, Virginia, CNN recorded a clearly audible hum from a large data center located very close to houses. Residents compared it with constant aircraft noise and fireworks and reported sleep disruption. Local economic development officials acknowledged the facility should not have been located so close to homes. The example involved data center infrastructure generally. Many Loudoun facilities were originally built for conventional cloud computing rather than exclusively for AI. A more extreme AI-specific case involves xAI's Colossus infrastructure near Memphis and South Haven. Routers reported that dozens of gas turbines serving the project could be heard around the clock, with residents comparing sudden bursts to jet engines and reporting that the noise woke them at night. Residents have filed a lawsuit alleging near constant noise and vibration, although those legal allegations have not yet been finally adjudicated. This is another thing I want to follow up on. And again, like, this is where, you know, new legislation might be needed, as opposed to just like, you know, this is the allowable dB level, but just because they might be at the allowable dB level, does that mean that they can have a constant sound at that allowable dB level 24/7? So this is what I wanted to know: is it physically harmful for most neighbors? The principal established concerns are annoyance, disrupted sleep, stress, and reduced quality of life. Yeah, so rather than direct hearing damage, but those other things are very important. WHO guidance recommends less than 30 dB inside bedrooms at night for good quality sleep, and an annual nighttime average below 40 dB outside bedrooms. The occupational threshold of 85 dB over 8 hours is aimed at preventing workers' hearing loss and is not an appropriate standard for deciding whether continuous residential nighttime noise is acceptable. Can it be prevented? Largely, yes. Mitigation includes greater setbacks from houses, acoustic walls, and berms. Enclosed generator. Oh, I haven't heard the term berm since theater school. Enclosed generators, exhaust silencers, vibration isolation, slower and larger fans, restrictions on nighttime generator testing, and positioning cooling equipment away from residences. Okay. So yeah, in some of these situations, I think there's legitimate noise pollution cases that need to be investigated. 100%. And yeah, I mean, I want to keep up with what happens legally and whether there's fighting for new sound legislation in some of these areas. It's very interesting. Thanks for bringing up those 2 points, Farce. I appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Barry, I'm not ever going to say your last name on YouTube. I'm trying not to. AI supercomputers consume a lot of water and pollution. Anyone on YouTube who wants to jump into the room, feel free to jump in. Okay, let's see. Garage Lift Runner says, Yahoo owns internet and cell nodes. What do you make of that? Doesn't it seem like over 10 years an AI company will begin appearing as if it has to pivot? Or is that wrong? AI is going to continue disrupting, and before it aids sustainability, it hurts it enormously. Already, entire functions like product discovery, buy a PC, help me get a new headphones, all happens on AI. Yeah, I mean, like, this is negative utilitarian lensing. What about the positive side, right? AI is going to continue disrupting. It's being used to be more efficient in in emergency rooms. Harvard has already been studying how AI in its infancy right now is outperforming accuracy of diagnosis in the times that we most need fast, efficient, accurate diagnoses in emergency rooms. So it's already surpassing emergency room physicians. So it is aiding sustainability in a really important way. So, I mean, it's just part of what we're doing here today is when I think of the anti-AI cult and why I think it's out of control. It's like saying stuff like this: the hyper suffering avoidance calculus that is siphoning off a really important thing in your mind that is imperative to achieve cognitive flexibility. I see that being siphoned off by way of negative utilitarianism thinking being made primary on this issue, and the positive utility just seems to not ever come out or be recognized in people who are, phobic of AI generally. So we went over earlier the common anti-AI cult myths that included myths like AI produces nothing genuinely new, all AI output is plagiarism, using AI means you have no talent, anything made with AI is fake, AI users are lazy, AI is just autocomplete, AI does not understand anything, AI is either conscious or completely worthless, AI will inevitably eliminate every job, AI never makes people more creative, AI art has no emotional value, AI generated work is automatically inferior, AI companies secretly control every answer, AI hallucinations prove AI has no value, humans are reliable, AI is uniquely dangerous, AI always makes society less equal, every use of copyrighted training data is theft, AI is destroying the environment more than it helps, disclosure is always morally required, anyone optimistic about AI is a corporate shill. Like, these are the kinds of anti-AI cult myths that we started this episode off earlier today debunking. Does anyone else have anything they want to bring up with regards to today's topic? I also find it.
Did we talk about Matt Dillahunty and AI?
Oh yeah, what was the thing I sent? Oh yeah, so someone asked Matt during a live stream. He was playing some game. It shouldn't be hard for you to find the actual quote. I mean, actually, I wonder, Don, if it wouldn't be that far up in our chat. Hey, did I send that to you?
I think you did send that to me, yes.
Yeah. to summarize while I'm looking for it, Matt Dillahunty was asked whether he would debate, AI, and Matt said no. And he said, I've looked at the large language models and they're basically just a Reddit board. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. Like that's a deeply ignorant thing to say. Let's see if I
How
can find
would
it.
debating an AI even work?
Well, you can set up your system in a way that it can debate topics with you. If you say, I want you to take on and embody the scientific academic consensus in this field and argue specifically from that perspective, and here's my starting argument, and let's debate this topic. So, I mean, it's not that hard to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I would be more concerned about like because I think with any good debate, there's like differences in axioms and just assumptions about the world, right? And so I would be interested in, depending on the topic, how an AI would actually address that, because science, like aside from the empirical parts of it, what we should research, what we should uh, look into, or frame, like how we frame things, all of these things, I feel like it would be really hard pressed. I would be really hard pressed to find a convincing argument as to why we should ask AI these things instead of trying to talk among ourselves. Because it just seems like when it comes to axioms and other things that are based in quality of life, perhaps the AI could give some arguments that are pretty good. But there's a vested interest in people conversing with each other when it comes to quality of life discussions.
Yeah, but I mean, the AI systems have a lot to say about quality of life. They just need a metric. So when you're saying axioms are obviously going to be operating under the rise of particular metrics, or we can just say values because that'll cover everything. So it has to be given that value to measure to, and then it can. But once it has that, it's better than human beings are at discerning the complete and optimal rational enterprise in pursuing that value. But yeah, it's not going to come up. It doesn't have a desire drive like us. It doesn't have sentiments that are doing value sorting for it. But I think eventually one day AI systems will have. Go ahead, Donald. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know my mic was open. I apologize. Keep going.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no worries. So it is true that we give the tool its value, and we have to prompt that, whereas our own biology, by way of our sentiments, is prompting us and doing that and doing that for us. But it's not that I see any less value in applying, let's say my moral quest is based on maximizing well-being for myself and those around me. And by well-being, I mean physical, mental, and social health. There are facts about physical, mental, and social health. And the AI system and its ability to, deliver the goods by way of those metrics, by way of what I have given it from a normative perspective, it's just better at that than human beings are, at being more accurate to the being rational to those purposes and presenting that rational enterprise. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I often find that with AI discussions, though, well, the thing I'll say about AI is that what kind of makes it problematic in a lot of ways is, and I'm an AI user myself, I think that AI is the future in a lot of ways, as long as the companies are able to distribute it like with ethical means, and they keep ethics intact and all of these other
yeah,
things.
of
But
course, yeah.
a lot of the time, what I find with a lot of people that use AI is that they shut their brains off, and it just becomes this like, let me ask ChatGPT what this means, or blah 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 blah, and then they just don't really critically think anymore about like what is being posed to them. And so we have a very
Yeah.
unique problem in the modern day,
How big
insofar
of a
as
problem do you think that is, though? Like,
I
what
think,
empirical data do you have to support that that is a like that is a problem that is leading to bad outcomes? Because for the most part, if someone goes on ChatGPT and says, you know, what um or is a frog a dinosaur? And then
yeah.
ChatGPT is going to give the answer. That's
Mhm.
mostly, I think, what you're talking about, right? And you think that there's no like, how is that different than
Well,
Google searching and using Wikipedia as a primary source?
Well, there's varying degrees of harm, right? Like there's a difference between like classification of certain species, like what is this species name, versus like how do I, like, as someone that's interested in chemistry, make this chemical reaction work or something, right? Um, People need to understand that they are the person behind the wheel of the AI, and that it is fundamentally a tool. And
Yeah,
I
I think,
agree. This is
but I think
this.
everybody knows that. I don't think you're saying anything that people don't already know. Like, if you stood up and you said that at let's say at a general education seminar about how to use AI, in the right way, and you stood up and said, um, you have to realize that you're in the driver's seat with regards to this tool. I don't think you're saying it. Like, I think people are like, yeah, tell me something I don't know, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the same way as like, if I went up and said, "Is speeding bad, everyone? Are you going to speed after you get out of here?" And then people proceed to speed. Like, people know things are bad. It's a question of, okay, they can rationally say, "Yeah, I'm in charge of this, and yeah, I should be careful." But are they going to be careful at the end of the day?
Yeah, but I think, like, you're like this comparison, like, I think you're saying that, like, uh if someone, like, your chemistry example, if someone puts in, like, like, what do I have to combine to get this chemical reaction, that there are people out there who don't, that somehow that's different than looking it up on the internet before AI dropped, and
I'm not saying it's
and
completely different.
somehow AI is like creating this gap and causing people to lose their autonomy or something. Like, I don't understand what argument you're making.
I'm not saying people are losing their autonomy in the way that like they just can't make actions for themselves. I'm saying that your brain is a muscle like anything else. If you don't use it, then like it withers, right?
Yeah, but they are
If you don't,
using their brain. That's the thing. They
I mean,
like,
who
it's the
is?
same. It's the same thing going on, as what they were doing when they would look up how to get a particular kind of chemical reaction on the internet before AI dropped. So what
Well,
you're
it's
talking about isn't a criticism against AI specifically. What you're talking about is a criticism about, like, you shouldn't just blindly believe what you see on the internet.
well. Let's be very specific, right? Let's be very specific about who we're talking about here, because I feel like we're conceptualizing two different individuals when you say they are using their mind, right? I could
Yes.
see a situation where someone could, like Google, like, because this isn't a unique problem insofar as it's had very many iterations throughout like the decades, right? Like when the printing press came out, the books, like the technology that came out, and like
Yep.
people were printing books about this or that. And then, it's like, oh, I'll just believe anything in this book. I think what makes the AI unique in this sense is that in the past there has been incident of the AI trying to appeal solely to the individual that is using the AI. And unlike books or Google, for instance, unless we're talking about like some obscure thing like a group chat where everyone's just like complimenting each other all the time, and
Yeah, I was going
but
to bring up the example of human beings doing this to each other, right? And I think
yeah,
it's way worse. Human beings are way worse, way more dangerous at doing this to each other than AI has been demonstrated to be.
yeah. I mean, I think AI is unique though because with human beings, there's some level of volatility there depending on the person. Because people can often be like very like head over heels about you one day, but human beings don't have like seemingly infinite patience. What I've noticed with ChatGPT and like other AI models is that seemingly they will never get sick of you being you. They'll never it never really calls you out unless you like really operate it in such a way
Well,
where
that's
you emphasize it.
yeah, so that would be using the tool incorrectly. If you're when we're talking about not just people who are using AI as a glorified Google search, but people who are like using AI to determine life choices and things like this, if they don't have uh, good sound epistemic values, let's say, programmed into the system that I that I want you to deliver information, like update your memory to deliver information based on these epistemic standards and these ethical standards. If people don't do that or don't know how to do it, which most people don't, that once you start getting into that zone where the AI system is going to be providing prescriptions for you or giving you like relationship advice or something like that, yeah, that can be a problem. I would say that they're using the tool in a way that could cause harm to their physical, mental, and social health. But I would also apply that to like the kinds of friends people are speaking to about. I think like good friends are like is one of the biggest failures of good friendships is that there isn't um, an open communication space where your friends can tell you when you're full of shit. I think it's important that your friends feel safe and that the friendship would be safe, that they can tell you that you're full of shit or you can tell them that they're full of shit, depending on what, whatever could be being discussed or whatever the goal is. That sycophantry isn't like, a necessary contingency on maintaining the friendship. And just like, I'm not going to pay for Chat GPT anymore if it's not going to continue telling me what I want to hear. Yeah, that's a problem with that the way that person's going about thinking, the way that person's going about discerning good, bad, and right and wrong in the world. So it's an ethics problem in the user of the tool. And if someone is going to be using AI tools in this more high resolution way, they need an education in order to do that safely and properly, I would say. Just like a person needs an education to some degree to be able to use the internet or to use other websites on the internet to discern fact from fiction news and things like this. I mean, I think that's a way more dangerous issue. The people who aren't able to discern fact from fiction with regards to their news cycle or their algorithms. I think the issue we're talking about with regards to AI is nowhere near the catastrophic levels of that other problem. And I think what you're bringing up fundamentally is just is what I would consider to be a problem with the user in how they're using the tool. But that doesn't mean I'm against. That doesn't mean I'm not against legislation and moving towards. I think people are going to want a product that is less sycophantic, that is less hallucinogenic. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I would like. What I would say is that's like, because there is fundamentally two different ways of like looking at this, right? Where we can either look at it on an individual scale or as a sociological problem. And to me, how I'm looking at it is as a sociological problem.
Right? I look at it both ways.
Yeah, I mean, like, but in any given conversation, we can focus on one or the other. Because I do look at it both ways, but for the sake of this conversation, that is what I'm focusing on, is the sociological aspect of it all. Because it's not a question of, for me, how can we get the individual to do things better, right? Even though that is a very important question, but rather, I think it's a matter of, I think what's happening now is just an exacerbation of problems that are already in our society, right? And I think that these problems are going to persist whether or not we try to apply individual responsibility to each person. And so what do we do when this naturally occurs is more of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I mean, look, to yes and what you're saying, like I see things in the world like on X, for example. Like I use X as a way to promote upcoming Pangburn events and political things, but I think that is humanity's shithole for the most part of how people like interact with each other on that platform for the most part. I like Grok. I think Grok is a good tool. But I, when I'm scanning the internet for problems and I'm scanning technology for problems that are helping to amplify where humanity is failing, it's just the issues people point to with regards to AI tools just do not scale anywhere close for me as a moral well-being, as someone who cares to want to maximize well-being for people, compared to like some of these like horrible political movements, or like movements like red pillness or manosphere stuff, and the constant misinformation and overgeneralization fallacy and all kinds of stuff that basically run those things. And then when I see energy being spent on like, yeah, but what about the hallucination problem that can happen if you misuse AI tools, or like some of the other issues that are pointed to, I'm just like, these just don't, for me as a moral well-beingist, and based on the data I've looked at as to what's been demonstrated to be causing any kind of well-being detriment to humanity, it's just like it doesn't even scale compared to the other stuff. So I one of my biggest frustrations is that when I, in a tongue-in-cheek, lighthearted way, say that there's this anti-AI cult out there operating, it's frustration based on what I see as a ill-placed use of ethical resources, when there are much more important issues to be dumping those ethical resources into. And it's not to say, this is not at all to say, that there aren't legitimate issues associated with legislation and education relating, towards how to use the internet. I mean, AI systems and any other technology that could cause well-being detriment. I'm just, when I look at the scale of the kinds of problems people point to with regards to, using AI tools, using them as a way of learning. I mean, most people are using them like that's what the data show, are using it like a glorified, Google search. So yeah, I just, do I think we're pissing important, ethical real estate away here? Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that when it comes to what you're describing, I would agree that there are more important issues. Like if we had to choose among like all the issues, right? Like of course, like global warming, bigotry, sexism, racism, all this stuff, right? Horrendous things uh, that we should be focusing on way more.
Or like a
Um,
lack of free healthcare in the United States.
yeah,
Like that's a big one for
exactly,
me. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I do think that when it comes to like any issue, right? Uh, there's always going to be a sliding scale of like what can be perceived as like more important or less important. Like let me even like given example of like quality of life assurances, right? Like
Yep.
let's say that we have a problem where on the subways the seats are very very hard, and it makes elderly people like their backs hurt every time they sit down or something.
Right.
But
Yep.
also we have cancer and all these other things.
Yep.
Should we then say, okay, well maybe we shouldn't focus on making these seats more comfortable,
No,
right?
I would
Like,
never. I would never say
yeah,
that. But the way I feel about AI, quote unquote,
yeah,
dangers, would be equivalent to uh, like somebody tripped over a pebble in in New York City on Broadway. So that means we are going to dedicate all of this energy and resources and time into investigating and pointing out the potential danger of pebbles on the roadway or the sidewalk. Now I agree that you could kill someone with a pebble. You could die tripping on a pebble. Um, and I'm not denying that there are some issues associated with like, you got to be careful where you're stepping, where you're walking. You don't want to trip over things. And as a general principle, there's more things than pebbles to trip on. Um, but that's the level of, um, that's a more apt analogy to me of what's going on here. Would I consider that a good use of people's intellectual real estate to be worrying about uh, pebbles, and getting back to the fundamental issue of why people when they're walking down the sidewalk are tripping over things? Like this is not like groundbreaking philosophy, science. um, I don't think it relates to something that's really causing a lot of harm. But I feel like there's this like, there's this like, it's so bad in some of the anti AI cult circles that I will not, you know, I I I won't go to an event. Let's say this. I won't go to an event even if I really want to go to the event. If I see that one of the ads, if I put in an AI detector, it tells me that, there's a high chance that AI was involved to create this. If there's even a slight chance, I can't go to that event. Or I, if I see a piece of art that I love, and I'm like, oh, I got to get this piece of art framed and put up on my wall. It's just so beautiful. It speaks to me. It felt like it transcended me into a new level of appreciation for life when I saw it. and then they get it printed out and it's beautiful and they've had people over to look at it, and then someone, let's say 3 years later, after your life's been built with this piece of art as part of your life, and then someone comes in with a new AI detection software on their phone, and they're like, oh yeah, that's AI generated. Well, how sure are you that that's AI generated? I mean, this technology is 99% accurate. Oh my God, now I have to get rid of it and throw it away. Why? Well, because it's AI. That whole thing seems religious and culty to me. I don't want to see people's well-being diminished in a situation like I just outlined because they have some kind of religious attachment to anti-AIism.
Yeah, I agree with you. The only sentiment that I would disagree with is the kind of analogy of the pebble, right?
Okay.
Because I do think that, with a pebble, it's like, okay, this is a thing that I interact with like once in my day. It got in my shoe, I shake it out, and then I go along with my day. AI is being rapidly incorporated into so many parts of our lives that I feel like, as a principle, as a good rule of thumb even, it would be fair to say that the more impact something has on you, for better or worse over time, let's just assume for the sake of argument for better, the more harm it could do to you, right? So if I tied a pebble to the bottom of your shoe,
Mm-hmm.
it's not very much of it's more of an inconvenience at first, right? It's not something that's like, oh, okay, this is annoying, I can kind of feel it on my foot. But if you keep walking around in that shoe for like days on end, eventually you're going to get blisters on your foot, cuts, scratches, you're going to be sore, and eventually you're not going to be able to walk at all because this little thing.
But you wouldn't ever keep walking around with it, right?
Yeah, but that's kind of like the thing with AI, though, is that unlike
I
the
just don't
pebble
think
that you would,
AI. I don't know about this continuation of the analogy, because I don't see AI as chipping away at your ankle, right? At your well-being.
well, I was trying to explain that,
Also, like if you're retarded enough to not remove the pebble, then that's on you. It's kind of like what Travis was saying. It's your responsibility to use AI properly, and if you're misusing it, like, stop. It's on you.
well,
But,
like I was saying, unlike the pebble, it's not just about me personally, right? Like, I can stop using AI at any point, right? It's the sociological downstream effects that people are concerned about. Now, whether their concerns are justified insofar as like the specifics, it's like, okay, that can be debated on. But there is no doubt that like there does need to be very important conversations about like how AI is going to be used in everyday life, even among the people around us, because even to this day, we have like, I remember I was going to a job interview and I can't speak to a representative because they actually designed an AI bot for me to talk to instead to answer all my like questions. And so even if I stopped using ChatGPT, I'm not deluded enough to believe that this is Pandora's box and I can just shut it out of my life forever. No, these things are going to be incorporated into so many aspects of my life around me that it would be very, very difficult to avoid it.
Like, I think that maybe, there are some scenarios, I guess, where like some things, like I hate talking to AI people on the caller things. I know I get really annoyed. Like,
why is that?
I don't know. I just because I don't know, because they, like, sometimes I'll have a question that doesn't match what their list is or something. But the thing about it is
hang on, one second.
But that wasn't even okay. But that wasn't even probably.
I know, but that is really important though. Why you have a problem with this? Is it okay? So you mentioned there might be an issue with its functionality that can always be fixed. if all the functionality works fine, are you still going to have a problem with it? Or
Well, I mean, like it seems like every time I call a phone thing, like if I like they've got a list of like things you choose from, and they're like, "Oh,
Yep.
tell me what you need to talk me to do," and like none of the answers they have on there are actually why I called the people, and so like yeah, I guess they
oh,
could
you're
fix that.
talking. Yeah, I think
But
you're talking more about like automated, like
yes, yes, yes,
directions because the AI, like the actual AI agents, Robin, like you would have a hard time determining whether or not
yeah,
the person on the phone is actually an AI agent. Like they're not just bringing you through a menu.
yeah. But now I
Like
think the AI
yeah.
though,
I mean, I'm gonna call bullshit on that. I mean,
the problem.
I saw Bud's gun shop and their AI sucks ass. I have to yell at it, and then it
Bud's
threatens
gun
me
shot.
because I threatened it. You
Threatened
know,
you.
well, I had to sort out someone's FFL transfer stuff, and
I'm
it just wouldn't give me a someone to talk to. Like I tell it again and again, I need a customer's information. Oh, I can't give you customer information. Like what? Like they're sending a gun to me. You can and
first
I'm
of
not
all,
saying that
yeah.
every bot is broken, but also it's like, oh, the functionality can be fixed. To me, almost sounds like, oh well, real AI, real communism does work. It's just never been tried.
Well, I don't
It
know.
it, it
Well,
sounds
no, no,
like
no,
that
no, no.
argument.
It's
Wait a minute.
the tech. It's like the technology being employed in some of these things. Like it would be unfair to be using MS DOS right now and say, I hate computers. Why? Look at this fucking
Agreed.
MS DOS shit. It's like, yeah, you're using an
That's what, like-
ancient,
Can I get back to my point? Like,
yes,
sorry. I was just trying to
so-
filter. Sorry.
But the thing
Yeah.
I wanted to say
Okay,
though
go
is
ahead.
that like it also has been used in medical, like to detect like cancer and things on screens that is like far beyond what human beings are able to do. Like the uses that it can be employed in medical advancements is just like beyond like human have we have our eyes, we have to use things to like our eyes to view things and stuff like this, and AI is able to detect out certain like on certain tests and things like
Yeah. Harvard Robin has already done a pretty substantial study on this. And again, we're in the infancy of this technology, but even when it's AI technology is being used in the emergency ward, in order to, give fast, efficient, accurate diagnoses, these systems are dominating the
Yes.
senior, emergency room physicians with regards to, by all of these metrics. So, like and also like the cancer thing, like you mentioned. So I think that's overwhelmingly positive. However, and I'm just trying to imagine what the anti-AI person might say is that I don't want, they'll just say, I don't want AI doing any of that stuff. I don't trust AI. I want it. I want the human touch, right?
Yeah, because humans don't ever make errors.
This is like the automated driving thing, right? like the automated driving, like literally human driving causes hundreds of thousands, millions of deaths around the world every year. If you look at the record of automated driving, where it's at right now, and again, I would still suggest it's in its infancy. There's a handful of crashes, and those crashes were caused by other people.
Yeah.
Of those automated vehicles, like
I mean, I think
that,
AI.
that
I
is
think we're way too
staggering.
much in the I think we're too far in the future with AI. The problem
Yeah.
started with the car. Should have just stayed on horses because think
Stay
about the
on
car.
horses.
I'm not being
Hey.
think about the car. First of all, a horse knows when to stop. Cars don't. Just run into people.
Yeah,
Okay,
you could not.
great grandma Pangburn.
How many horses have you rode on, Don?
Let's let
What
Don
do you
Don
think
go.
is going
Let's
to
let Don
happen
Don
then?
go.
What do you think is going to happen then? Right? We're going to be filling up gasoline. We're going to have to build roads. What is it going to do to our society? I think that problem. People are going to get lazy. They're not. It's like I think when this is where I hear a lot of AI argumentation, where it looks at all of the things necessary to make AI work and function within our society, and we should think about it like any other tool that can have a dangerous outcome. We got to train people about it. We got to
Yeah.
educate students about it. If we want to get in front of this thing, the first place we have to go is starting by legislating educational standard.
Yes.
So people know how to use
Couldn't agree
AI,
more.
so they recognize what it is, that they know it's not infallible.
Hey,
Yeah.
that is such a good point. Like, teachers shouldn't be out here saying, "Oh, don't you?" It's like a teacher saying, "Don't use a damn calculator."
Well,
You're going to get
this
in
is-
trouble if you use a calculator. It's stupid.
Yeah.
We should be teaching kids how to use AI responsibly and how to think critically. One thing, though, because we're talking about cancer, there's this model called AlphaFold. At least I believe this is the one. And this thing, if you know anything about protein crystallography or mapping proteins, it's a freaking nightmare. All right, like you go to an organic person, someone who teaches organic chemistry, they might have for their thesis, their PhD thesis, um, you know, found the structure of a protein. That's how hard it is and annoying it is. It of course this is AI thing, so it's biased, but AI predicted that in the months it took this model to predict 200 million plus protein structures, it would have taken humans billions of PhD hours.
Yeah.
It is so powerful and awesome at doing very specific tasks.
Yes.
And
I
it's better suited to some things than others, but there is huge advantages to this. And I think that it is a real shame that some people are abusing and misusing AI, and some people are looking at those small abuses and then trying to discredit AI as a whole. People don't realize how much AI has been being used since before 2020. People think it's a new thing. It's not. And it saves lives, and so many medicines and proteins were created as a result of this. Why do you think we can do mRNA vaccines? It's because we have a machine that can make a protein that works specifically the way we want it, in the exact way we want it, without doing the things we don't want it to do. And that's awesome. Anyway, sorry.
Travis, what was that thing you were looking up about Matt Dillahunty? Because there is a Catholic Answers AI. And I was trying to remember that when I heard you talking about that, because I think Matt did debate it, and Alex debated it, and I know Justin from DZ Debates debated it.
Someone was just asking Matt in a live stream I saw. I got a clip sent to me, and someone was like, "What the fuck is Matt smoking? Is he on crack?" Honestly, that's what they said. And I looked at what it was, and yeah, to paraphrase, someone was like, "Matt, would you, debate ChatGPT or a large language model or something like that?" And Matt said, while playing a video game, he said, "Yeah, I've looked at the large language models, and I've come to the conclusion that they're nothing more than just like a frantic Reddit thread or something like that." And it was one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. I should find I also see like I see this kind of a lot in kind of like the most edgelord pop atheist neckbeard community. There's a lot of anti-AI. Like I saw Aaron Raw the other day, he posted something about "I hate AI," and then he this overgeneralization fallacy where they probably don't even know that it's literally saving people's lives in emergency rooms, and then maybe they're going to say, "Well, I didn't mean that AI." It's like, well, don't you think you should be specific as like a public figure that's saying things on issues where people care about what you say, and they're going to go and parrot what you say in other forums and rooms and shit like that. So yeah, it looks like you posted where Matt talked to a Catholic AI apologist. Yeah.
I thought that was just funny because I knew he'd already done it.
Yeah.
Alex
So
O'Connor.
okay,
Alex O'Connor
and
did it. And
yeah,
I
and
think
maybe
Alex
he's
O'Connor got it to admit that God didn't exist or something like that. I think is what
right.
Alex did.
Well, um, yeah. So that's interesting. This was in a recent thing, and maybe it was he meant specifically to ChatGPT, but yeah, that is, to summarize what he said about it, and I thought it was very, on an unlearned weird take. Um,
The only thing I
I
worry
wanted
about
to say
AI.
something.
Oh, okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
you go first, Robin.
My only concern about it is like I realize that it's going to it's going to displace people from jobs. Like I mean, like like the different applications of it in the medical field and other things like that is eventually going to displace. I'm not sure. Like there's different estimates on how many people it will
Yeah. So
displace from their jobs.
I
That's my only thing. And like I just hope I would like to see that my my government or my different governments or leaders are at least trying to keep up with that and make a plan for some kind of universal income or something
okay.
that can replace those positions. That's all I
Right.
worry about.
So this was part of, and you didn't say it in this way, so you wouldn't be considered part of the anti-AI cult here, but this was number 9 of my what the common anti-AI cult
Well, I like
myths
AI.
look like. And so one of them is quote unquote, AI will inevitably eliminate every job. So what I think is more accurate to say is AI will replace some tasks and perhaps some occupations, but technologies usually produce a mixture of substitution, augmentation, and new work. The important questions concern which workers are displaced, how quickly, and whether institutions distribute the gains fairly. So I think you're specifically concerned with the workers that would in fact be
Yes.
displaced, and that we don't know, like we don't know exactly what that displacement is going to look like because of what typically happens when these new technologies arise. But there are, like, obviously when there's that excellent movie about the ladies, the black ladies who are working in NASA as mathematicians.
Bullshit movie. All fake, by the way.
No, it's
Faker
not
than
all
AI
fake.
and gayer.
It's not all fake.
Okay,
But
not all fake, but just most of it.
it's a good movie, just to demonstrate, like, when there's a new computer coming in to NASA, that the mathematicians are now going to become, machine techs that still relate to all of the knowledge they've gained as mathematicians and human computers. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it's well known yet. There are some predictions and statistics I've seen about AI job replacement. I do think it's responsible to have legislation and reactions to these things
Yeah.
when they happen. That's the moral well-beingist thing to do. So surely there will be some level of displacement.
I don't know if you know who Jimmy Snow is. He runs The Line, which is that call in like channel that Matt actually
Yeah, I don't know who
is on.
that is.
So anyway, Jimmy Snow does a lot of call in shows, and he's been like fear mongering this like displacement of workers to a high extent. Like he claims like 80% or something like that of all workers will be displaced. Like I have no idea where he gets these numbers, but I've been hearing him use these large um, numbers I just don't even know how we could even possibly sit down and even begin, because
I
I
mean,
think I think every time we try to predict something like this right here, we find out how bad we are at predicting it from actually a long way away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not going to all happen at once. And so I've kind of just always been real leery of his numbers. And that's why, like, I don't think that his numbers are probably, I don't.
Did you ever check his numbers? Like when
I don't know how we check, but I mean, it sounds like to me just kind of like doomsday numbers. You know what I mean? So he's definitely a doomsday person when it comes to this aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's like the altering predictions, right? So let's do this because this is important. So here's our most accurate current forecast. So by 2030, we're only 4 years away. The most defensible central expectation is AI will substantially alter roughly 20 to 40% of jobs, but probably eliminate or directly displace a single-digit percentage of existing jobs. So new jobs and increased demand elsewhere may offset much or possibly all of the aggregate loss, while particular occupations and entry-level workers experience severe disruption. So here's some comparisons. So one forecast says 25% of global employment will be exposed. Some tasks can be performed by generative AI. So that doesn't mean that 25% of global employment being exposed means that employment goes away. It's just that it is exposed to the technology of AI. 3.3% in highest exposure category. So closest estimate to jobs facing extensive automation. That's only 3.3%. Of jobs globally. Another estimation forecast shows 40% of global employment exposed includes both beneficial augmentation and displacement. So 92 someone has mentioned that 92 million jobs will be displaced by 2030. All major economic and technological trends, not AI alone. So that's just based on like the economic and technological trends. 170 million jobs created by 2030, net increase of 78 million jobs across the surveyed trends. So that's a prediction in the opposite direction. Goldman Sachs is predicting 6% baseline displacement. So private sector estimates of eventual AI related displacement, they're putting that at 6%. So the person you are talking about, Robin, when they are throwing out these numbers, it would be interesting to ask, like, by what period of time they're talking about. Like, are they talking in 100 years? I mean, in 100 years, I don't think people are going to have daily jobs. Probably not. I think it's going to be more like, one's job would be more related to one's leisure time or the things they like to do. Maybe they still want to build shoes and make shoes, but it's not dependent on their well-being,
fully
and their family's
automated
well-being.
gay luxury space communism. Is that what
What's
you're talking
that?
about? Fully automated gay luxury space communism, which isn't even an insult.
Exactly.
Like I kind of agree. Like,
I mean,
I robot kind of shit.
I mean, I just think, like, I think that's seems to be the trend where human beings want to, like the desire of humanity has turned us in the direction of pointing us towards higher and higher and higher levels of physical, mental, and social health. And I just think for those same very reasons of the desire drive and that value sorting doing what it does on a global scale, I think that's also going to move in the direction towards, okay, now how do we minimize the amount of time we have to put into our jobs, but not have that affect the level of our flourishing. Maybe that's when a universal income starts coming into play, and some people decide to work less, and some people decide to keep their same schedule. But I think over enough time, maybe it's not 100 years, maybe it's 200 years from now, I think this idea of like, working a job in order to, somewhat guarantee your flourishing is going to go the way of the dodo.
What did you say, CJ? I couldn't understand. Like, you said that so fast.
Fully automated, gay luxury space communism. It's a joke.
Okay. Why the gay part? First of all, I don't understand.
I'm not the one that made. I didn't make it up. This is some gay Reddit shit. All right.
CJ is just outlining his desired world, so let's let him have what he wants.
No, well, I think it is an interesting idea, though, because as ridiculously funny of a term that is, and I really hate that I keep referencing this book, but, like, people keep talking about AI, and I feel like it's more important than ever. The last section of iRobot, I don't know if it's the last chapter or the last story, I would say it's the last story of iRobot, is basically this fully automated society where, like, you don't have a UBI. There's no UBI because there's no need for money because the AI system just auto-allocate everything. Oh, people need chairs? It knows that people need chairs, and it says, hey, it gives instructions to the factories, you make chairs. It gives instructions to wood people.
I don't need money.
Yeah, well, it doesn't sound like a bad thing, but there is like a moral quandary in it of that, like, so there's these people that keep trying to like be lazy or manipulate the system.
Oh my God, lazy people.
Because we're human, and the AI is smart enough. It goes, hey, these people are screwing me over. I know everything. I know all the ins and outs. They're trying to trick me. I'm just gonna boost the quotas by a specific amount, and everything's still gonna work out fine. The humans look at it and they go, oh, we're not hitting our quotas. Something's going wrong. The AI knows. The AI doesn't care what quotas we think. It just cares that the actual right amount of stuff is being made. And then they go, wait a second. So we don't even have any free will to change what it's doing because it's just predicting our minds, and then it's just giving us a lie so that we produce what we need to survive. And it's this idea of like, when we're in this state, do we even have our own agency anymore? And it's just, I'm not saying that we don't have agency. I'm just saying it's an interesting idea, and that if you haven't read the last story of iRobot, or really all of iRobot, and you're making like sweeping generalizations about AI, I really don't think you put enough thought into the most basic theory that predates that. I don't know if it predates computing, but it's so early. People have thought about this for decades, and I would argue even Karl Marx mentioned the AI with his perfect machine. Which, by the way, why don't communists love AI?
What is I don't understand the communism part.
Anyways, well, you would have to actually read the material in the Communist Manifesto.
A prophecy or something?
I might be schizo-ranting here, but no. Okay, and this will be the last. This will be the last thing I say. To like hand up torch. In the Communist Manifesto, I want to say somewhere about 3/4 of the way in, or somewhere close to the end, he mentions a perfect machine, and the perfect machine would be a machine that you create it, and over time, its value, or I guess the product that it makes, the additive value, outcompetes the original cost or burden of putting it into it, such that it's effectively an infinite creator. And AI does that. It takes things and it just creates things. Now, of course, you need to put in a baseline of water and electricity or whatever, but it's the perfect machine because it can do anything. You can train it to do anything, and eventually all you need to do is just give it electricity.
So
which
you think
it might
Karl
even be
Marx?
able to create for itself.
So you think Karl Marx was a prophet? I don't like. I'm trying to figure out
I
why.
don't think what I don't think Karl Marx is a prophet. I'm just saying that like the
These are
thoughts about AI and machines like AI have existed for so long, and I think people are just dipping their toes into AI, not realizing that there is a dearth, or sorry, not a dearth, a plethora, a wide ocean of thought on this that they've probably never even dipped their toes into. And I really encourage everyone who's critical and non-critical of AI to jump into it because one, it's a really cool thought experiment, but two,
oh yeah.
it's gonna start actually affecting our lives if it
Like-
hasn't affected your life already.
The thing about it is like when I think about the future and I think about maybe the universal basic income and stuff, like I never spend 5 minutes, you know, and I've worked and paid taxes all my life until I become like disabled. I've never spent 5 minutes worrying about lazy people. Like what lazy people are sucking off of that. Like the people that I think that are sucking off of like
sucking off.
the people that are sucking off of all those working people are people like Elon Musk and stuff like that, who are like profiting like with all their investments that they can make, that they can afford to make and stuff. Like I just don't see.
Okay, let's straighten this out. The way Elon Musk sucks
I don't
off.
worry about the girl that's got 3 kids who's getting food stamps and isn't working. So like I don't like that kind of stuff. Like I just don't.
They both fuck us over in the same way.
No, they don't. They don't fuck us over to
they
the same
do. Because what Elon Musk does is Musk takes. How did Elon Musk become as rich as he is? Right after. Oh shit! Sorry, I almost ran over a raccoon.
What I'm saying though, like that, those people.
How did he become a billionaire? Right.
He
made PayPal. He made PayPal, and then he started milking the cow. I don't know if milking the cow is the phrase, but he started milking the cow, which is the government. He took government grants.
Yes.
He took tax credits. He started building spaceships paid for by the government, and that's how he made his money. He built his money off the back of the taxpayers by using taxpayer money, kind of like defense industry people. And the same way, but in a much smaller way, people who are abusing welfare, abusing our tax system, are doing that too. They're taking government money because they're doing a thing that the government is incentivizing.
Yeah, but there's not any comparison, TJ. And like,
well, there is a comparison. They're both doing a thing. They're both doing a thing that the government is incentivizing and profiting off of it.
I mean, like, I just like people like the fact that everybody, that people in the United States are so resigned to the fact that we just have to work from the time we turn until we're born, until we die. Like the only reason that we are here is just to work for somebody else, and like how much ever we
showing up to them jobs.
Yeah, like I mean, like we.
It's
like
just not true. The American dream is the antithesis of that.
Yeah, I know, but like
the goddamn American dream is moving down to Mexico and dying on the beach. Okay.
The American dream.
Yeah, Travis.
My American dream is not to become a billionaire and so I can exploit other people.
No one said no. So you just went from. Hold up. You just went from.
You guys need your own radio show, by the way.
Yes, we should.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like,
but Robin, you just went from, in America, you just have to assume that you're going to work from literally the day you're born to literally the day you die to, I don't think the American dream is becoming a billionaire. No,
I don't think
the American dream.
You're acting like that's my position, and it's not.
No, that's what you said. That's what you just said.
I didn't say that. I thought we should have to do that.
What I want to say is, I want to be clear. I don't think the American dream is being a billionaire, nor do I think the American reality is working from baby to dead. I think the American dream is getting out of high school, getting a trade, maybe getting a nepo job, or going to college, getting a decent job, putting in a good 20 to 40 years of work, and retiring with somewhere between $2 to $10 million in your retirement account and living off the stock market interest that you get off of it for the rest of your life. Which, by the way, would be anywhere between 10 to 30 years.
I mean, at no point did you mention OnlyFans in that whole diatribe.
Yeah. And except
Or
if you have a
apparently
medical,
being a
if you
whore
have a heart
online
attack, like
and
if you have
making
a,
$20 million.
like
Let's
if you
let
come
Robin
down
go.
with cancer,
Robin, you go.
if you come down with cancer in the middle of that and have to go like several years with cancer treatment and stuff, all your like you will go bankrupt and lose everything you ever had because we don't have any medical, like that's
Yeah,
what one of the largest things that causes bankruptcies.
If someone walks up to me and shoots me in the head, I die, and I don't get to enjoy the fruits of my labor. So,
but I mean, like I just don't. I don't know. I just like this
Correct.
worrying about lazy people is just not my problem. Like
But them lazy people, they're soaking up all the resources. They're just sitting down eating Cheetos and drinking all the water.
I really don't care how lazy people are. I just even as a person who I would consider myself lazy, I would consider myself a person who is what do you call it when you put stuff off constantly?
Procrastinator?
That thing. Yeah, I'm a procrastinator. I'm lazy. But when I'm working, I'm working. And the thing is, I see a lot of people, at least in the West, especially recently, saying, "Oh, I don't think I should have to work for a living. I don't think I should have to work. I think, and things have to be given to me." But the thing is, anything that is given to you had to have been worked for by someone, right? So even in this society where everything is given to everyone, even in the communist society where everything is given to everyone by their own need, everyone still gives to their ability. You cannot have product. You cannot have fruits of your labor without labor, right? Fruits don't just come out of nowhere.
I don't know where you meet these people at, but I've never met anybody that said I should have everything and I shouldn't have to do nothing for it. I've never met these people.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I've met any in person, but plenty.
But I mean, I don't think that we are
repeating the sentiment over and over and over, and people keep saying, "Oh, well, I deserve this because I'm a human being and I'm alive." Or I shouldn't have to do
I think everybody should
in order to live.
And
I hate to break it to people. I hate to break it to people, but actually, you do have to work for the things that are given to you in your life. Either you have to beg someone and they give it to you, or you earn it.
It's not given to you.
Only two ways to get something.
CJ, it's not given to you if you work for it. You earned it.
That's why I amended my statement to say either you have to beg someone to give it to you, or you have to work for it and earn it. And if someone gives it to you, they earn it.
Sure everybody has water and food and shelter. I'm fine with that. I am. I really am.
That's cute, but that all requires labor. So you shouldn't expect you can. As a society, we can be charitable and grant these things to people as a form of charity and as a form of investment in our community. But they are not expected. They are not right. And the moment we do that, we are going to create a society that collapses in on itself.
Oh my goodness, not the doomsday stuff.
Well, it just completely destroys the foundations of the society.
I don't know. I don't think that capitalism is the foundation of society.
No. Again, this isn't capitalism. This isn't capitalism. This is any form of society where fruits are distributed amongst people in any way. The fruits need to be labored for.
Are we still on topic here?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I think we should continue this love fest down in the tavern. Everyone who joined us today, thank you so much for joining us. Those of you on YouTube, come and join our community on Discord. You have the link right there. We have a lot of fun, not only while we are live on the air, but when we are in our off-air channels when we're not live. So you can always find a good conversation with someone here on the Pangburn Discord. So consider joining us. We're now going to move down to what's called Trav's Tavern, which is our digital after show tavern where we hang out, nothing's recorded, and you can say anything. However, if someone is breaking the rules and recording, you might be exposed for what you say in the off-air channels. But the rules are you can't record in those other channels. But anyways, yeah, that's the anti-AI cult episode, at least number 1. Might have to.
Sorry, the woke libtards killed my internet at the end there.
You're gonna have to do communism next, Travis.
Yeah, I would love. Oh, that's a good idea, Robin. I'd have to call the episode "Communism Rules!" !
Yeah,
That'll get him in here.
Yeah.
I'll
right.
argue on the side of communism.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Robin Balls. You heard from Robin Balls there. We will catch you next time. And please remember to maximize well-being for yourself and those around you. It would just make my day.